and then I'll say that. Awesome, we're live. And then you've got the two comment sections there. All right, cool. Are we ready to go live on Instagram?
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, we're just waiting for Instagram to get ready, and then we'll be going live. Okay, move that out of the way. Good.
Yeah.
We're live on all of them.
Yes, we are.
So Facebook's good, Instagram's good, and YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. All right, guys. So we're here again for the live YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Today's topic we're going to be talking about is lockdown making your lower back pain worse. How can lockdown be influencing your lower back? Now, it's been a lockdown for a week for most of us. There are some people outside of this, and you may have noticed there's been a little bit of discomfort in the lower back. And in this video today, we're going to talk a little bit about why that might be happening or why it might happen in the future if it hasn't already. And then more importantly, we're always interested in trying to prevent these sorts of things coming up, prevent back pain, because it's so much easier to prevent it than it is to actually deal with it once it's there in a lot of cases. So we want to give you a really good action plan that you can use right now to make sure that you don't fall into the category of someone with back pain, especially now because it's more difficult to get the help. So prevention is so much more important because the clinics just aren't open to actually get the treatment that you might need if you do let things sort of get away. So we'll go through why first and foremost, and then into that action plan. And then same again as usual, if you guys have any questions at the end of the video, then please do post those in the description. And then Lara will read them out to me at the end and we'll go through those as they arise. So first and foremost, why are we getting back pain? The big or obvious reason is why lockdown might be leading to you getting lower back pain is it's a massive change in routine. The way in which we're conducting our lives is really, really changing or has changed very immediately. There's been no adaptive process. And also, it's very easy to compare this to a workout. If you change your workout, you go from doing one sort of workouts, maybe it might be strength-based workout, and you switch over to volume, your body really kind of gets a bit of a shock. Say, well, what's going on here? This is really, really different in the parts of your body that are being challenged by that change. And for us, a lot of us, it's upright weight bearing. We're changing the way in which we're doing that on a daily basis. And we can feel that here with the best will in the world. Our setup inside the apartment here is not as good as it otherwise could be. And we can get away with that in the clinic where we're up and down regularly during the day. But here, you can't quite get away with that. And you start to notice it gets a little bit uncomfortable in the lower back towards the end of the day if you've spent a little bit too much time sat down. So using some of the action plans that we'll get into later will really help you avoid the need for getting any back pain now. But recognize that it is a change in routine. The next one is the sort of the constant media barrage of bad news. There's a lot of it out there at the moment, a lot of negativity. And we won't get into this too much, but suffice to say, when we're talking about patients in the clinic, it doesn't matter how bad objectively the back injury may or may not be. Those that have a positive can-do attitude versus those that are defeated by the pain mentally do very, very differently. So please try not to let the bad news out there kind of get to you and look for ways to engage in sort of more positive stuff, because what's going on up here really influences everything else, as many of you watching this will already know anyway, let alone with back pain. So try and avoid that bad news. Then we get into the more mechanical stuff. Why is it that the lockdown is making your lower back pain worse, or someone who maybe hasn't had back pain in the past giving you that bit of back pain? There's a few points. Two, which I'll cover, which are a little bit more imminent right now, and one which is kind of more of a potential. The first one is we're moving a lot less. We've discussed this on previous lives, but essentially you're moving your body less. We're not commuting to work, we're not out and about, we're limited, and that is having an impact on the lower back. We're just moving in different ways. Movement in the lower back is so important to change the pressure that's going through the discs, the joints, the ligaments, the muscles, etc. And without a small amount of undulating movement that's happening from a day-to-day moving around, you won't get that exchange of nutrients, that clearing away of waste products, etc. So the lack of movement can really impact and give you a little bit of discomfort in the lower back. And it's important to note right now that if you are someone who doesn't ordinarily have back pain, and then you're getting a little bit of it now, it's not going to be a serious injury in terms of if you actually objectively scaled the injury, for example, a disc bulge to a complete herniated disc to a fracture of your spine. It's going to be nothing like that. It's just going to be there's some minor tissue strain that's giving you the inflammation. So please rest assured, even if the back discomfort is a little bit much in the next few weeks and so on and so forth, or even now. The second thing is if you are someone who has a history of back pain and is being worsened right now, again, objectively, unless you've done something peculiar at home, like moving furniture and that sort of thing, which I wouldn't generally advise, then it's again unlikely that this relapse or re-aggravation that you might be experiencing now is not going to be a serious injury when we're talking about that objectively. It might be a little bit painful, but it won't be a serious injury that you need to be concerned or overly concerned about. Next one is sitting. A lot of us are doing a lot of sitting, whether it's in chairs, sort of dining chairs like this, which are not very good, better chairs, or sitting on the bed or sitting in the sofa. We're doing a lot more sitting than we otherwise would do, possibly in chairs that our bodies are not acclimatized to. And much like if you get a new pair of shoes, your body has to adjust to that. It's got pressure points, etc. There are different pressure points on your body when you're sitting in these different chairs than when you're in your actual office. So that's really, really important to pay attention to. And that's pretty much the why. Now, what are we going to do from an action plan point of view? There's a few steps. I've got 7 points here for you guys. If you could apply all of them, that would be awesome. If you can apply some of them, that would be better than nothing. So the first one is to really acknowledge that we are operating differently, and some of those factors that I've addressed in the why will apply to you, if not all of them will apply to you. And the one we didn't touch on, just to quickly go back to that, which is not quite as relevant right now, is an increase in weight. Generally speaking, if we stay inactive for a long period of time, it probably hasn't affected most of us right now, but an increase in body weight is going to have a negative impact on the lower back anyway. So acknowledging that these changes are occurring and have occurred to your lifestyle is really, really important, because once you've acknowledged them, you can identify them and have things to do to actually remedy those or mitigate against those circumstances. And the next 6 points will cover that. So first one is going to be stay positive. Do stay positive. I discussed with reference to bad news. Sometimes this is more so for you if you've had back pain in the past or you've been battling with it for a longer period of time. So we see sometimes patients, if they have a minor relapse from no fault of their own, it can really, really mentally affect the person. So even if you do get a little relapse, don't let it affect you mentally. Stay positive, stay with a can-do attitude, and that's really, really important, because the next 5 points on the 7 points are things that you can proactively do right now. So this next one is for the people that actually don't have any back pain right now and you're pretty much a healthy person. Lawrence Price on Instagram, who I've been talking to the last couple of days, he's part of FIT, which is an online exercise program. It's kind of like a boot campy type thing, which we could do like full-on workouts. So for the healthy, active person who's got no back pain, no problem whatsoever, that's an awesome way to just keep active and do a programmed, scheduled workout every day online. Creates a bit of community there, which is awesome, a little bit of engagement. And then for those of you that have a little bit of back pain yourself or a little bit more vulnerable and not in sort of peak condition, then you've also got our membership site where you've got all the free access and then the additional stuff there as well. So you've got nice routines that you can do to actually keep your back strong and resilient to these changing stresses and strains on your back. The next one is don't forget stretching. Whichever camp you are in that I just mentioned, whether the healthy, active person or the person that does have a little bit of back pain that's otherwise healthy and well and doing a little bit of rehab, make sure that you keep doing your stretches. Now, personally, for me, I like doing the stretches later on in the evening before bed. It helps kind of mentally unwind as well. Drop your heart rate, get ready to go to bed, both mentally, physically, and sort of biochemically as well. So stretching at the end of the day works well for me. Other patients, you might find that actually doing a stretch directly after the workout or in the middle of the day is a nice way to break up your daily routine. So that's another option too, but do keep doing your stretches because those are important. We do have to keep those muscles moving. Now, if we're just trying to do a general stretch, a 30 to 60 second hold will be good. And from any of the stuff we've spoken about before, for the lower back, keeping those hips generally flexible is important. Please don't start doing excessive bend forwards and touch your toes, because that's not going to be helpful. It's focusing on one thing, which invariably might be a little bit more stretched out than it otherwise would be. You want to focus on being balanced, your hip flexors, hamstrings, your glutes, really stretching the whole thing out. You can throw the calves in as well there, but that just keeps that hip mobility nice so that your lower back doesn't become strained a couple of weeks from now. The next one is take your daily exercise. Other countries right now have been completely locked down. You think of Italy, maybe Spain as examples. We have the ability to go out for a daily bit of exercise, whether that's a run for the healthy, active person that runs normally anyway, or whether it's a short walk for the person that's got a little bit of back pain and consequently their levels of mobility are reduced. A walk out of the house is going to be helpful for you without a shadow of a doubt. Those small undulations that go through your spine when you're walking will allow your body to help process excess inflammation and just get that exchange that I mentioned earlier with regards to decreasing movement. So take advantage of that piece of daily exercise and do it daily. That's really, really important for you. And then the second from last one is going to be take breaks and move more. Now that might mean that if you're watching something on Netflix, when the break goes to the next episode, if you're watching box sets, then please do get up, move around, let it load, walk around the house, go and make yourself a drink, whatever it may be, move and take breaks. If it's work, then take your phone calls or with your Zoom calls. There's no reason you can't stand up like I'm doing right now and move around while you're talking to the other person. That's really not an issue. You've got the privacy because you're in your own home. So it's not like someone else is going to listen into your conversation. So that should be fine as well. But take breaks, it really, really helps. So that's pretty much it. I'll go through it on the board as usual, just so you guys can sort of get a once over of everything that we've discussed today. And then we'll go to questions. So first thing, is lockdown making your back pain worse? First thing, why might it make your back pain worse? We're sitting an awful lot more. We're not inundated with good news. We've got lots and lots of bad news in the media, which is not particularly helpful right now. We might, over the course of the next couple of weeks to months, depending on your individual, and if you're in the higher risk category, this might be 12 weeks or longer. So we might gain a bit of weight in that time, which we can easily avoid by not gaining it. And we've got a decreased movement. We're less active on a daily basis. And then it is a big change in our routine. Just like getting a new pair of shoes, your body needs to adjust, or your feet need to adjust to those stress points. This new routine we have, our body needs time to adjust to those new stress points. And we want to help it along as much as possible in that process. And then the action plan. What are we going to do? I've put it in a bit of a funny order. But first and foremost, acknowledge it. Do pay attention that things have changed. Pay attention to the whys and that they do or will apply to you either now or in the future. The next one is stay positive, which for some reason is number 6. Do stay positive in the face of adversity. It's really, really important. Your outcomes will be much, much better if you can keep that positive can-do attitude. The next one is a home workout. Put into 2 parts. The really, really healthy, active people that are already doing those classes day in, day out can go and do something like the fit workouts. Those of you that have a little bit more vulnerability or are battling back pain, then you can jump in and do our phase 1 workouts or the phase 2 workouts in our membership area. So we'll put links to both of those below. Next one, don't neglect stretching. There's a lot of emphasis online right now about exercises and workouts, but stretching is equally important at the end of those workouts. Like I said earlier, I like doing it at the end of the day. It helps you mentally unwind, get away from the screens, and just shut your body down. So spending that 15, 20 minutes doing that before bed is a nice one. By all means, you don't have to do stretching every single day, but if you can do it 3 to 5 days a week, that would be really, really helpful. And don't beat yourself up if you don't. That's all about staying positive, which was this one here. Take advantage of that daily exercise. It may not always be there. It is right now. So take advantage of getting out of the house for, it might be 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, depending on you. Obviously, if you've got some back pain, be mindful. Don't walk too far. If you know that a 40-minute walk's actually okay, but a 1 hour 20 is going to give you trouble, do the 40-minute walk instead. Don't push it too hard. And then the next one is taking regular breaks. Again, I'm going through this in an awful order, but take regular breaks, get up, move around, whether it's between breaks while you're watching stuff on TV or on Netflix, or whether it's taking breaks while you're playing video games or even at work while you're working from the computer. Take breaks. That's really important. And last of all, which we didn't really discuss too much, is eat well and stay hydrated. It's really important for a number of reasons. Yes, you want to provide our body with the nutrients to stay healthy, to stay fit if we've got any tissue damage in the case of the lower back, but also keep our immune system strong. Eating healthy food is really, really important. Staying hydrated is really, really important. Shops like Holland & Barrett, I think, are still open at the moment, or they were last time we checked. So you can get supplements from there, or even from your local shops when you are going out on your sort of shop. Get some supplements that will help you. Ones we've been taking are magnesium, zinc, omega-3, vitamin C, and vitamin D, D3. So we take those religiously every night for us. So take supplements if necessary, if you're not getting those nutrients from your food. And that's pretty much it. Any questions, guys?
Just about the stretching.
Yeah.
What about yoga? Is yoga good for the lower back?
It depends. So if you're someone who is, I'll put that over there, if you're someone who generally is fit and healthy, doesn't have any back pain, then yoga as a general way of staying physically mobile is going to be good. I'd have the caveat of trying to avoid that sort of bend down, touch your toes stuff. Try and be mindful of, is my yoga routine equal in that, is it using all of those different ranges of movement, and make sure that we're not doing too much in the way of flexion or forward bending, that there is a balance between forward and backward bending. And I would argue actually a little bit more backward would actually be more helpful for most people, because most people, the overwhelming majority of their day is spent in that sort of position, hunched up and rounded. So yes, yoga can be fine. If you've got back pain, then in that category, then actually using yoga, using aspects of yoga or parts of yoga exercises might well be really helpful. But you need to do it in a sensible way. And again, I'd follow the guidance that we discussed on our other videos with regards to the movements that are most effective.
Okay, great. Joe's asked, how long would you say is the maximum time for sitting? So how long could you sit for?
So we do a lot of remodeling work in the clinic, which is basically where you change the person's alignment. And that's due to stress and strain that happens on the ligaments in response to a sustained stretch. That ligament change takes place after around about 10 to 12 minutes. So you will have an impact on the balance between your ligaments in 10 to 12 minutes. So I'd say try and be fidgety within a 10-minute period and take maybe objective breaks every 20 to 25, 30 minutes. But realistically, it's very unlikely, unless you're writing a book, that you're going to be working consistently for an extended period of time. You have to pop over to a different window. You might need to check your phone. All those little things are opportunities for you to get up and move around. And if you can use those, I try and limit the objective time that you're spent sat down in one position, camped out. That's the best way to go about it.
Okay. And how about lying down for 5 to 10 minutes after sitting for long periods? Is that right?
Yeah, I definitely remember the towel. So I got it down here again. This is almost like a mascot right now. I have to put a eyes, nose, and face on it. Towel, lower back, right down here at the base of the spine, and you just lie back over that with your knees up. The exercise is on our YouTube channel or on the membership area, how exactly to do this exercise. Super easy. Anyone can do it. Everyone should do it if you're sitting for long periods of time. And it's the exact opposite of what most people do. They'll go home and do some knee hugs to try and stretch things out even more, when actually they've already been stretched out the whole time you were sat down. So you actually need to unload those structures rather than load them even more with a silly knee hug. So do the towel exercise, lie down on it for a couple of minutes. You can do it on the bed. And the floor personally is a little bit better if that's manageable for the individual. But I'd definitely be doing that a couple of times a day right now.
And do you mind just explaining why is forward bending quite so bad for the lower back?
So I mentioned earlier about new stress points on the body. In the example of a new pair of shoes, you start stressing that heel and it starts to rub and starts to create tissue damage. Well, all day, everyone is going to be putting a flexion through the lumbar spine while they're sat down. So an excessive forward bend through the lumbar spine, which is going to stress and stretch all of the posterior structures. People will then say, oh, my back's tense. Well, the back's tense because it's held out all the time. I use this example. For the next 5 minutes after this video, just stand there or sit there with your arms stretched out like this and don't move it, or even pull back like that. You start to feel your pec and your bicep will start to become tense. Now, it's already maximally stressed here. We've got the olecranon process in the back of the elbow that stops it going any further, but it's going to start to get really uncomfortable, really tense in that area there. That's your lower back while you're sat slouched all the time. It's permanently stretched and held. So you get this feeling of tension. Now, is it really logical in this scenario to try and stretch my elbow even further to alleviate the pain? No, it becomes glaringly obvious in that scenario. That's not a good idea, because we'll compress the elbow even more. Well, if we look at the lower back example, we've been rounded for long periods of time, sat down. Those structures have been becoming chronically stretched. Like I mentioned earlier, that can cause remodeling of the fundamental support structures in your lower back. What we need to do is unload those structures, take pressure off the joints, off the discs, and doing that focused, pivot-based backward bending is so much more effective to decrease the tension on the muscles rather than pulling them even further. The consequences of doing this inappropriately are really that you're going to get the potential for tendonitis in the attachment sites around the lumbar spine, where those muscles are constantly being pulled apart all day, where they're attaching around the bone. That's going to create inflammation on that attachment site. It's also going to constantly compress those discs further. It also runs the risk of creating further stress and strain on the little ligaments that run between the bony bits on the back of our spine. So those bits that stick out like that there, those bits have ligaments that hold them nice and taut. If they're getting stretched out like that all day, a further stretch is just not particularly helpful. Think about what your body's done all day. You wouldn't rest after a marathon by going for another run. You'd take the stress off your body, and the forward bending stretch is just furthering the compression that was already on your body all day while you've been sat down. So it's very, very counterintuitive. A lot of people are like, well, you're saying completely different to everybody else. But when you actually break down what's actually happening inside your body, it makes complete sense. So
very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, we've had a couple more comments. So I'm 16 and I get pains in my knees and lower back pain.
Okay.
I think that's just more of a comment. Maybe perhaps he's looking to see whether there's any connection.
So with the knee, well, there's a few things that might be relevant. If you're an active young person, then pain on the front of the knee is particularly more common in guys just below the knee, about here. Commonly, you'll get things like oscus latus, which is basically where there's excess pressure on the bone on the front of there. That can create a bit of inflammation. Unfortunately, that's not going to be so related to your lower back. However, if you're being active during the day and then you're sat down for long periods, sat in this 90-90 position will pull on that same tendon for extended periods, and you combine that with being sat down for longer periods, you're irritating two areas at the same time. So I try and pop some ice on your lower back for 3 to 5 minutes. Do the towel exercise that I mentioned. Don't aggressively stretch your quads, because that will pull on that tendon further. A little bit of self-massage. If you've got any of the vibration massage guns, they're really good. But actually taking the stress off that tendon for a period of time can really help. And again, you might want a bit of ice here, but try and get that leg straightened out and take tension off the knee tendon.
Brilliant. Yeah, he actually just asked, are back massages good? Do they help with lower back pain? So that's kind of what you were saying about massage.
Well, the massage I would put on the quad in that example, because it's the quad that's getting tense and shortened and most likely pulling on that tendon for the knee pain. I'd really get some ice on the lower back and do the towel stretch that we mentioned earlier. Because getting the ice on the knee and vibrating the muscle here, you need to find a way to get this muscle to be more pliable, so it's not pulling on the knee as much if you're an active person or very, very still, sat down all day, maybe playing video games or whatever. Stretching this further is only going to pull on the tendon, so that's not a good idea. Some self-massage on this section, even taking like a rolling pin and just rolling up and down on this section of your quad will be a nice way to just loosen that off if you don't have any of the better tools like the Hypervolt that we've got here. If you want to just grab that line, I'll just show. So for this example, this is why we have these at home. So yeah, sorry if it's a bit loud, but literally just going up and down the quad here can really just help. And obviously you might use a rolling pin like that up and down here just to work a little bit on those muscles. But that will help with the knee pain, do both sides as well. That's really good. Any other questions?
Yes, we've got one from Oliver on YouTube who said, what are some of the things that you've been doing to stay positive?
Just doing work. I mean, we've been enjoying having this different challenge to the clinic and doing a lot more work online. Doing these lives is good fun. It's just enjoying what you do, and this has been a really good. We haven't been busy for no reason to be busy, but we're talking about the great opportunities that this has had for us to change the way in which we do things. Some really exciting things that we've been launching with our Facebook group, with the Back in Shape members area. So we've kept ourselves plenty busy in this time, and it's exciting. It's good fun, and you just focus on the good, and every now and then you hear a little bit of bad. So that really helps.
And do you mind just going through the membership area just a little bit? What is that?
Yeah, so the membership area is there's two parts to it. There's the free part, which is basically for anyone with back pain or any history of back pain, and that's our phase 1 side of things, which basically talks you through a few lessons, things that we kind of touch on in a little bit of detail from time to time in our YouTube videos, but some explicit lessons on understanding back pain. The example I've given today of the forward bending is a big one, but we go into that and other mistakes, common misconceptions, so that you can stop making your back pain worse. And then also we've got a 4-part protocol in there, which is really, really helpful. It's geared specifically to decrease your levels of inflammation in your lower back and actually do the right things alongside cutting out the wrong things. And then the second part of that is the paid version, which is you've got 2 additional workouts to slowly return to activity effectively without getting relapses. And also we've just launched this week the Facebook group, which is for the premium members, where you can get into our closed Facebook group, and then that's a sort of another area for you to access the membership content, but also interact a little bit more with us in the community, so you can get even more advice and even more support there for your back pain. So that's that. You can there'll be a link in this description
somewhere. Yeah, I'm just
somewhere.
going to put the link in now. So it's backinshapeapp.com.
Yeah, backinshapeapp.com, and it's easy to sign up from there. Any other bits for today, Lara?
No, I think that's everything.
Okay, awesome. Well, I hope you guys found this all helpful today. Again, we've got our next one in tomorrow at 2 p.m. So we look forward to seeing you there. We'll have the topic up later this afternoon, stroke this evening. So check it out. If it's of interest, then we look forward to seeing you there yourself. If you know it's going to be useful for someone that you know, then please do share it. Help them. They can get involved and ask questions during the live. It makes it more enjoyable and more entertaining for everybody. So I look forward to see you then. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.